There we go. We are off. Lolita Guarin, how are we doing today?
Oh, wonderfully. And how are you?
I cannot complain. We just got done talking about my fun little time spent at the beach. So my day has been good. I got my beach time, so I'm good.
Great.
Yeah, how's things in your neck of the woods? You're in Houston or just
Yes, I'm in Houston. Sadly, we do have Galveston, which is a beach, but it's so bad. Like, it's like a toxic. Seriously, there's nothing compared to California beaches, that's for sure.
yeah. I visited Galveston before and yeah, it is definitely a little bit different.
Yeah.
How's things been for you in Houston with everything that's been going on?
Well, we have, Houston is such a town that we have plenty of people working for oil and gas. And with oil and gas prices now down, next to all the pandemic stuff, there's lots of stressed out people losing jobs. Actually, my husband just got furloughed 2 weeks ago. And I'm also working in oil and gas. I have plenty of friends who are losing their jobs. And me as a stress management coach, I'm busy. I'm like, I don't have time to even watch a show because I have just so much going on.
Yeah, well, that's one of the reasons why I was excited to set this up with you. I'm like, people are stressed right now. So in comes your expertise, So how did you get on the path to becoming a stress coach in the first place?
Well, as you can tell, I'm not Texan, even though if I live in Texas. I came from Lithuania 20 years ago. It was April 20th. Yeah, it's 20 years ago. And I came here and thought, well, I want to be, a person that achieves the dreams. Actually, I didn't come here for like, oh, I want to live in United States of America and I'm going to come here. I came as an au pair. I came just to explore, travel a little bit, learn English because my language that I was learning in school was French, and then you Polish and Russian since I'm from former Soviet Union, and I speak Lithuanian. So, and I came just really for language and because I wanted to explore the country, but then in the meantime, my parents won green card lottery, so they became residents. So while I was here, they came, and that became now my home. So since I was already here, I'm like, well, I already had a degree from my country, so I thought I'll just add on things and then to see where it will go. And obviously, I know this is the land of opportunities. It's where I'm from. It's very hard to get anything done or anything to start. And you already need to have lots of money to have lots of money. So I was like, okay, I can add to my education. I can go work, and I started working in the corporate America. But again, it doesn't mean that you cannot have stress even if you work by yourself. Actually, if you work for yourself, it's even more stressful because then you just worry 24/7. There's no time to even rest. So I started working, and I wanted to prove to myself and my family and my boss that I can achieve more, and I was very eager to learn. So suddenly I realized because I didn't know how to say no, I was just working overtime, lunches, weekends. My weeks were like 60 hours weeks, and you know how it is. The more you work, the more they give you to work. And then soon I realized, whoa, this is stressful. I need to catch up with all of that. Of course, on top of it, my nutrition was really bad. I mean, what can I eat in the lunchroom? Like some leftover pizza and donuts. It's not like broccoli will be hanging around there. and
Yeah.
and my lunches were hot pockets, and anything that's I was saving money, so of course anything that I will eat will be in the like a freezing meal section and cheap. There's no even a question that will I be exercising today, because I mean the only one time that I will get up from my desk is to use the ladies room. It's like that's bad. But I'm sure plenty of us can relate, because when you work, and when you work for yourself or for others, you just start working and you get into this, and it just becomes like this mountain that you climb and climb and climb. And every day I feel like that mountain is just getting steeper and steeper. And what happened to me that is just that stress impacted my health so much. It totally messed up my hormones, and for women hormones is like number one. Like you want to make sure it functions right. So well, basically I ended up in emergency room, and it was because it was caused by stress and anxiety and all of that. And and I had the friends who were telling me, look, you just go to the doctor, they will give you a pill, you'll be fine. And I'm like, stress is such a natural thing, really. There's no way that we can live our lives without stress. It's just impossible. When they have I talk with someone and they say, oh, I have no stress in my life. I'm thinking, that's a lie, because if you feel uncomfortable inside your home and then you just open the door and step out and it's like 20 degrees cooler, your body immediately feels that and is already stressing out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's impossible to live without stress.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, it has to be some natural way, because obviously we lived as humankinds, and probably anyone in this planet, even plants, stressing out when they have too much sun or not enough water, right? Like, I have to find ways, natural ways, how to manage my stress. And I found plenty that there was, I found plenty of books and workshops and coaching. I mean, you name it, I've done it. And I started applying to my life, and I realized I was doing so much better. I did so much better with my time management, with just taking little breaks and helping myself through the day. So, finally I didn't collapse at the end of it. I was fine with having a full-time job and learn how to say no to people, to projects, and start really take care of myself. And all of that, what I learned, I realized that stress management doesn't have to be stressful, really, because we all think, the way I thought, like, well, it's such a big deal, stress. So if the solution needs to be a big deal too. Well, I realized that's not true. There could be such a small things that we can apply in our lives that doesn't even need to be that big. There are many things we take for granted, like, for example, breathing. If you say, well, you just breathe in, breathe out, it's like, no, this is so simple. I'm not going to do that because I do it all day long. Well, but how are you do it just holding the breath when you're stressed? Or you actually take a time for yourself, just breathe in deeply in and out and take the time? Or when you're anxious, will you really use this technique and breathe in, breathe out like 10, 15 times to calm yourself in the stressful situation? So there are plenty of tips that you can do that sounds just so easy to do, but will you do it? And when I start applying little things, I realized it made a difference in my life, and I start sharing this with other people. And I remember this lady in the party said, you can be a coach. And I'm like, I thought, a coach? I always thought like a coach is like athletics coach, like a swimming coach or a jumping coach, And she explained to me like, no, you can teach people. People need to hear this. And so then I become certified as a stress management coach, as a life coach, and probably like 7 years ago now.
Wow.
So then I start coaching others. So at the moment now, I do one-on-one consultations. I have online courses. I also am a speaker. I go to events and do workshops. I'll go to companies and teach how easily you can manage stress in the work environment, because that's where majority of my stress came. And then I'm an author of the book Crush Stress While You Work, and it's available on Amazon, and it's full of tips on simple things that you can do right away and try out different things the next day if you want to try something different. That doesn't have to take so much time. I think what they realize, there are so many people I will say, hey, you can do this and this, and they will immediately say, I don't have time for this. It's like,
right.
Come on, you just need to make time. So, that's the very long story, but I think it's very manageable. We just need to open our eyes and say, okay, I can do this.
Yeah, man, that's what you described, man. It happens to so many people, this stressful type of environment associated with work. We do not have a very good relationship with work. And I've been in that boat before, where I was working a corporate job and I got to a point where I was losing patches of hair on my face. And I'm just sitting here like, you don't realize what's happening in the moment. You have no idea, because everybody around you is stressed. So if you've been in an environment where everybody's stressed and you keep going there every single day, you think that shit's normal. And once you get out of it and can see a little bit and breathe for a second, like you're talking about, like, take a couple breaths and actually look at what's going on in your day-to-day life. Like, do you feel like complete shit like every single day at the end of the day? Or are you just 100% exhausted all the time? Like, these are warning signs. You know, it's like when you were talking about how you ended up in the hospital, like what happened with that? Like what was it something that you just ended up in the hospital because you passed out or something? Or like what was the
Yes, actually, that's what it happened. I passed out.
holy
I
shit?
passed out in my own kitchen and hit my head really hard on my tile. So I figured, okay, this is actually has to stop. So, yeah, that was it was it's my whole body and my hormones all messed up, and it's just like it was bad.
Yeah. How long did you have to spend in the hospital?
Well, they let me go of there was not like you just pump blood in me or something, or they like, well, this is an anxiety, this is you're not having a heart attack or nothing like that, and you hit your head, but there was just many things. But I was really released easily, because they're like, this is not really life threatening, woman, like everybody's having anxiety, you just take this pill, you come down, and then we'll check you up and go with your doctor, and things like that. And the one thing what I was the two things I was surprised. One, I thought, I am young, how come this happening to me?
Mm,
And then, like, I can do this, I can totally can do this, I can just bulldoze through the stress. And then when I finally collapsed, I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not supposed to be doing this when I'm so young. And then the second thing, I was so surprised that when I was telling my friends, or when I'm in the ER, they like looking at me like, yeah, whatever, woman, like, how many anxieties we have here, everybody have stress, this is nothing new, like, get over yourself. I was like, whoa, that this is really not normal. And then I did the research, and I find out that the biggest killer is heart disease. I always thought there was cancer, but it's not. It's heart disease, and heart disease has to do with body inflammation. And inflammation can be caused in the body with many other things, but one of them, the biggest one, is stress, because it just totally messes up all of your hormones, all of the chemicals in your brain, and it just affects your body. It's
yeah.
like, why are we not paying more attention to this? And when I start teaching this I will go to companies and I say, I think you need someone who can help your employees how to manage stress. And then they will be more, they're like, no, we'll fine. It's like, do you realize that if they get sick, they impact the productivity of your company? If they tired, if they burn out, they will make more errors. Your business can suffer because of that. If you feel like you don't care about the health, at least take care of your bottom line, of your profit. And then also I was surprised that wellness programs are very popular right now. And they will be like, hey, here's the we had a nutritionist. Okay, good. We need to know what we're gonna eat. And then we had the fitness coach came in and showed what exercises we need to do. Okay, so you taking care of the body. Who's gonna take care of your mind? Of course, there's a stress that's caused your body, like you're too cold or you lack of nutrition and exercise. But the big majority of stress, I think, really comes from your mind. It's like, what is you thinking? What are you anxious about? What do you worry about? Do you feel burned out? Like all of those things really starts in the head and then impacts the body. It's like, okay, so you covering nutrition, you covering the physical fitness. Where is the mental fitness?
Mm.
And now I'm so happy to hear there's more and more people realize that that is the third part that you really need to focus on. And and I like how this pandemic is just magnified all the things. Now suddenly you hear on the news, we need to take care of our mental health. It's like, no kidding, like about time, people.
Yes, we absolutely need to. Like, I feel like a result of what's going on right now with the pandemic is the focus on mental health is going to go up, because we're seeing all kinds of stuff come out. Like, the unfortunate side of this shit is kids that already were in a stressful environment. That stressful environment sometimes is at home, and the way they get away from it is school. So now they're in that stressful environment all the time. Domestic abuse situations are going up because people are forced to be around each other. And it's going to create this thing, because suicide rates are going up too. Like,
Yeah,
this
yeah.
shit is it's a major issue. And what you were talking about with people just being like, just get over it. Like everybody's stressed. That's not an answer. That is not an answer. It's not a way of thinking that helps anybody. Like if a large majority of people are negatively impacted about something, is the answer really, well, screw it, misery loves company, let's all just feel like crap together? Like, yeah, like why can't we try to find like a tangible way to work on this?
And I was it's also surprising to me that when somebody says, okay, you need to take care of your mental health, and then like, okay, and how are you going to do that? It's like they show this on the news, you need to do this. It's like, well, can you tell me how to do this at least? Because they don't teach that anywhere. It's like, well, you just like, you're supposed to like, actually the longest time was just totally ignored. It's like, no, we're not going to look at this doesn't exist. So it's like, it's really important to know like, hey, you need to find how to do this and you need to really do it, not just listen to that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's a glaring issue that they don't know how to do it. Like a lot of the people that are giving these articles and going on these shows that are talking about mental health, it's like that the mentality has to change, and we have to start honoring some of these methods, like what you're doing, like coaching about stress. Like a lot of this stuff over the years has been pushed off to the side as foo-foo, and it's not real, and all this and all that. It's real. Science is backing it more and more every day. The more we learn about stress and its impact on the body, and like you're talking about with the business standpoint, like I don't understand why you can still have your business focus of profit. Like you get profit by happier employees. You get more profit by happier employees because they are going to work harder, and it is going to be better work if they're not as stressed.
Right. I found this research was done that those coworkers who are happy, the employees who are happy with other coworkers and have a good relationship with their bosses, with their coworkers, would be willing to work for less money than being somewhere for more money where they have stressful situations. Yeah. Which is like, when you think about it, of course that makes sense. But you hate going to stressful environment. And at the beginning, I know there are people, I had clients who they say, no, money is the most important thing. And I'm thinking, we'll see how long it's going to last, because soon you're going to be stressed out, burn out, and you're just going to run away.
Yeah, absolutely. How soon from the time that you ended up staying here to the time that you ended up in the hospital did you notice that you were really being impacted by stress at work?
I think first of all, I thought that I'm not being impacted by stress, because okay. I thought that this is very normal. And you see, grew up in the former Soviet Union. So okay. Stress is like our middle name, like, yeah. Like, okay, you don't have much, well, you're stressing, but hey, everybody's stressing, and also, I grew up with alcoholic father. So, okay. As a child, I already had the stress to begin with from the day one. Yeah. So I grew up knowing that stress is my best friend, because it's not going to go away anywhere, and I'm just that's like my normal. Until then I came from Lithuania, came here and as an immigrant, obviously you're stressed out because number one, you just changed the country, you changed the food, you changed friends. I mean, I knew nobody when I got here. You change the language, you change everything. So even if you're very happy, that will be a good stress, was what others call is a different change from normal. So you naturally stressing. But then when I started going to work and getting more into the projects and stuff, I was still thinking that that's very normal. And then probably when I really start feeling sick, and then I could see the change in my body, that was probably 10 years ago. That I was like, okay, this has got to stop, because it's just, you've got to the point when really like you have to stop, especially when you're so young. And that was very surprising for me.
Yeah. Well, the common theme that you see with stuff like this is if you don't stop, something's going to happen like what happened to you. Like if you don't stop, your body is going to stop you.
Yeah, and you know this. I have clients who they run the businesses. They're so busy. They have multiple kids they need to take care of, and again, that doesn't mean that if you have one kid or have no kids, you somehow less stressed. That's not true. Everyone, they have their own stresses. Okay, everyone has their own things. But I hear constantly clients who come to me and they're like, I don't have time for this, and I'm like, you need to take 1 minute in 1 hour, just every hour, put an alarm on your phone, and that's the tip, and just stop whatever you're doing if you can. You know, if you're operating heavy machinery or driving, please not do this. But you know, just put the phone on alarm, and you just whatever the alarm rings, just close your eyes, stop whatever you're doing, just do some deep breathing, and just think, I'm not thinking about my problems right now for 1 minute. As soon as 1 minute is done, I will continue whatever I'm doing, worrying and all that. But for now, I'm just taking a break. And I will tell my clients just to say, look, just put an alarm and do 1 minute in 1 hour. And they will tell me like, no, you don't understand. I have to take care of those that I love. And I say, okay, that's great. Now tell me, who's going to take care of those that you love when you're going to be in a hospital bed? You know, this is the same works, like when you go take a flight and the flight attendant says, put the mask on you first, put oxygen, then you help others. And this is how it works with any self-care and stress and anything. And I think that our problem in today's society is that we feel guilty. We feel guilty of taking care of ourselves first because we always looked at like selfish. It's like, oh, you're so selfish. You mean you're just gonna stop working? You've been working for 7 hours nonstop, and you mean you're gonna take 5 minutes to breathe in, breathe out? Oh, unheard of. And we feel that if we wanna, in the work environment, if we will tell somebody no, like what happened to me, I was continuously getting new projects, and I had different people who were giving me. So they didn't even realize how many projects I was working on. And I was afraid to say no because I was afraid I'm going to be looked down and it will be like, oh my gosh, she's so stupid. She doesn't know how to do this stuff. Or like, oh, we're going to fire you because you cannot take care of the workload. Yep. And also I will have coworkers come to me and they're like, hey, can you help me with this presentation? And I don't want to sound mean, like, oh, look at her. She doesn't want to help me. So I will say, yes, okay, of course I'll help you. And this little of just learning how to say no, it's scary for people. Yeah. And I actually have an online course. It's free. If you go to my website, beamazingyou.com, and click on online courses, it'll just take you there for all the courses are. And it's a short course, but it's a video and little sheets that you can fill up. And that way I teach you how to say no to projects, to people, nice way, like without sounding rude, and how to actually learn to say no. And just that itself took care of a lot of things for me. Also, I realized, we stressing out so much about what other people think of us. It's like we, the survivors, we want to belong to a group. So if I'm going to say no to somebody, they're going to exclude me of the group, then they're going to kick me out in the cold and I'm going to die. It's pretty much like that.
Yeah.
So this is how our brain works. Mm-hmm. So as soon we realize that we're safe and we don't have to please everyone all the time. Also, we worry so much. When I say, if you worry about something, ask yourself, will it matter in a year or two? Mm-hmm. Many things don't even matter. Like you're driving somewhere in traffic and somebody just cuts in front of you. It's like, and then we like all upset, like, this is so personal, they just almost killed my child over here, and there are some drivers crazy. But you need to just ask yourself, like, do we really want to go to that level? Yeah. And when something happens, like a stressful situation, you just need to kind of like catch yourself before you react and say, who is the most important person for you in this moment? It should be you. Because if you're not going to take care of yourself, you cannot take care of those that you love. So then you need to think, and also, will that matter? There's so many, let's say right now, plenty of people sitting at home with their families and with spouses, partners, and kids, and the grandmothers, and everybody inside the home. And I have clients who I had like 2 years ago, and they call me, they're like, I cannot take it anymore. I think I'm going to kill them all, And I'm like, okay, now, first of all, we as such a beings that we love analyzing and we like solving problems.
Yeah.
But we have to realize that not every single thing that happens in your life is a problem that need to be analyzed and taken care of. And always ask yourself, will this really matter? Just because your mother-in-law didn't wash the dish and, that annoys you, will this matter in a year or two? Probably not. But you're stressing yourself, really. That's nobody else is doing this for you. You're doing this to yourself. But of course, there are some things that are very important, like nutrition. Did you drink enough water? When I find out that like not drinking water, it cuts your brain work by like 20-30%, I was like, oh my gosh. And it's such a simple thing. So if you're like working and you're feeling burnt out, like, oh my gosh, and my brain's not working, you're probably just purely dehydrated.
Yep.
So, simple things can do a lot of things. You just don't make it a big problem. And just always think, will this really matter? Because many times, many things don't really even matter. So you just always have to think, will it matter? And who's the most important person?
Yeah. Those the making a mountain out of a molehill, the taking that one thing that's making us a little bit annoyed and then just uncovering all the things that we're upset about in life. It's just like, are you really mad at the thing? Probably not.
Yeah.
Like, that's not what you're upset about. But it's, man, it's a crazy cycle though. Like it's a cycle that I feel like it has to change for the betterment of society, just for better relationships. Like when you think about a lot of the issues that happen in society, like people getting in fights, people getting in arguments, the road rage thing. Like I've driven in Houston before. I know that it can be fun. But it's like, how much of that could be mitigated if we were less stressed? And I feel like a lot. Like if we looked at all these situations with a little bit more compassion, a little bit more space between responding versus actually just sitting there and taking a couple breaths, thinking about it for a minute and be like, how do I want to respond? How do I want to go towards this? And, that's something it's going to take a minute. It's going to take a minute to rewire, but I'm glad like people like yourself are starting more and more starting to do this kind of stuff. Like it's needed.
And, what I can say, if someone gets in the stressful situation, something just happens, right? You have to have your little stress toolbox, as I call it.
Mm-hmm.
And what I recommend is, everything starts in a thought. And the thought is such a thing, is like a train. It picks up slowly, but if you let it ride, it's just gonna be with such a speed, it's just gonna take you over the hill if you're not gonna stop it early. And so what I recommend my clients is, as soon as something happens, start rehearsing your affirmations. We all have affirmations. I mean, we all know what affirmations are. I am, and then you just say something that's inspirational. For example, I say, I am calm, collected, confident, and in control. I am calm, collected, confident, and in control. So why it helps? Because when you start thinking something negatively, another thought will come very quick, right? You're gonna have more thoughts, and then the next thing you know, it's really, really big. So as soon as you get something small, you like somebody cut you off, you're like, oh, that little. I am calm, collected, confident, and in control.
Yeah.
And then you think something else. And and I recommend, if you don't want to use your affirmations, you can, maybe you have a favorite Bible verse or something, or just use the Ho'oponopono method. I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. The key is that when you think something else, if you think something positive, you cannot think something negative. And so when you start rehearsing this in your thought, you kind of withdraw yourself from that negativity. And also I recommend, at the same time, if breathing in that deeply in and out, which helps to slow down the heartbeat and gives oxygen to the brain, so you feel more, energized, and you help you physically with your body. And also I recommend to touch your body at the same time, if you can. So just massage your neck, just touching the body, or your hands, or your thighs, or something, just physically, just brush. Because have you noticed when kids are stressed out, they run to the parents or somebody for a hug. That's a natural body response. We love the touch. Brain loves touching. So if you're in a stressful situation, you find yourself some sentence or few that you can just continuously tell this to yourself, then breathe in, breathe out, and you just physically touch your body. And that within a few minutes should help you to calm down. If you make this a habit, so the next situation you get in, as soon you think, okay, now I'm gonna do my little thing, if you already did this so many times, you will really shorten this time when you kind of get control of things, and you immediately get into control in that stressful situation, and you relax faster. So make this a habit, and then it doesn't have to take you an hour. It's not like, oh, I'm sorry, I have to run for my yoga class now. No, you don't. You just can have a little tool and just do it and help yourself get the grip before it starts. And the more you'll do it, the more you have more confidence that you actually can do it. It doesn't have to be so difficult. It's not a big deal. And then you're like, hey, I can control this. And then you can give yourself 5 and say, yay, I did it. Next time comes, you do it again. And you just want to go.
Yeah. Yeah. The tricky part with this is that you don't get to practice that stuff until it happens.
You know what? But life is so stressful. You have plenty of occasions.
Yeah, you got plenty of attempts on the board. Like, there's plenty of things that can stress you out. So just you can practice quite a bit, but it's noticing in the first place that it's even happening, because I know with my journey with stress, it went from not noticing at all to noticing after it had happened, and then slowly working it in to try to change or to fix the situation when it would come up again. It's, these things they're tricky, but it's a progression. And I think part of the reason why we are the way we are in society is it's a microwave thing. It's a microwave mentality. We want it now. We want it now. We want it now. So anything that's going to take a little bit of extra time and effort, like you're saying, people don't even think they have a minute.
Yeah, I know.
A minute. And it's like, nah, I've been in the corporate environment. I know people that are busy all the time that spend a lot of time telling other people how busy they are. Like, if they just stopped that and then focused it into breathing, their lives would probably improve, because there's a lot of conversations that go on in the corporate environment that have nothing to do about work, or you're just bitching about something.
And then they involve everybody else. So you have to sit with 50 people meeting and listen to somebody rant about something that's totally not important.
Yes. And all that's doing is stressing everybody else out. It's just corporate America is just a giant ball of stress. It's so crazy.
And then somebody can be working, and I have clients who work, they just have one boss, they're working for somebody else, and they're already stressed out. And I have plenty of solopreneurs that they are very, very stressed out, because it's not that it's your job that you go from 8 to 5, but you have to think about yourself and how you're going to make a living for the rest of your family. And that is super stressful, because not that they just worry about the money, but they also, solopreneurs always love doing everything by themselves. It's like, yeah, I'm going to do it better. And if they're, oh, you mean you need to, I will say, you have to delegate to others. And I did this, I asked probably about 250 business owners, and they were different from somebody who just started business 2 or 3 years into it, into CEOs who are already in business for 30 years. And it was amazing to me how the stress levels were, the longer they were in the business, the stress levels were actually dropping, because they learned that they need to delegate. They need to hire others to do that for them. And I remember one CEO told me, he said, the best thing I ever did for myself and my stress level and my business, when I realized one day that I have to delegate to others things that I don't want to do. So I can do things that they love and I'm very good at.
Yeah.
And when you're doing everything, you burning yourself to the ground. Then also you'll do some mistakes. And I know this, I had a client last week calling me, and she was like, oh, I have just so much to do. And and I have to do it all by myself. And I said, well, then you need to have help. They're like, no, you don't understand. I'm making almost no money right now. Nobody's buying anything. I need to post all those things on social media. There is no time for me. I don't have money to hire anybody. And I'm like, okay, you have a neighbor who's in a graduating class and bored for the summer. You can have a free intern that they can put something on the resume, and they have something to do, and it's help for you. And she was like, my neighbor, she was bragging the other day. She was, all they do, teenagers these days, just sitting on Facebook and all the Instagram. I'm like, well, hire her up, and just delegating things. It could take asking for help. I think that's for people who are very busy and they have so much to do. First, you need to say no to many different things, and then delegate and ask for help.
Yeah, that's some PTSD type stuff, because if you've delegated before and it hasn't worked out, like you can get in another one of these spirals where you're just like, oh my God, nobody's going to do it the way that I'm going to do it. And that's something else that everybody can work on, is how you delegate, because giving something to somebody else just because you don't want to do it, especially for like an entrepreneur, it's like, if they don't know what it looks like for that thing to work, how do you expect somebody else to do that as well? So it seems like it's such a balance of trying to figure out, okay, I can do this thing, but I know what it looks like. I'd rather somebody else do it, versus I just don't want to do this altogether. And can somebody else just fix it for me? And I think that can lead to some miscommunication, some butting heads, and then you can kind of get into this negative space where you're just like, well, I got to do it all myself.
I agree with you. It takes time to find the right people to help you.
Yeah.
And but we live in technology times. Now the rest of the world is open for us. There's so many things that, yes, you need to invest time or have an investment, but then there are so many ways that you can ask somebody else, hey, can you recommend, or do some research, or before you delegate something as a big project, you can delegate somebody a small one. That's like trying the different things. You have to take a risk. It's like tying shoes for your toddler until they're 16 years old. You definitely will be faster for you to do it yourself when you do it for them, but it will take some time until they learn how to do it. But then you'll be like, wow, one day, like, I don't have to do this now anymore. Now
Yeah.
I will for myself.
Yeah. How was your transition from the corporate world to what you're doing now? Like, did you, like when it comes to stress, like, especially when you were starting out, did you have a better relationship with it, or was that something that you had to kind of figure out as you went?
When I was working full time, and then I went into coaching, and I started doing everything at the same time, because it's a good idea you do not drop your full-time job until you actually can pick up somewhere, and I didn't have a bag of money that I just can scoop it up anytime I need to. So I was one of those entrepreneurs who, like, I'm gonna wear all the hats and I'm gonna do it myself. And I can say I know how to do a lot of things, and I do many times. But now I learn, like, why would I pay $1,000 to learn how to use something that I just can give less money for somebody just to do it the way I want it to? So this was very hard, because I'm only one child, and I had to do everything by myself all my life. And I know that people think, oh, only one child, they're so spoiled. Mommy and daddy did everything for them. No, not in my case. I learned how to do everything by myself. And so when I came here to US, suddenly from only one child, I became a mother with 2 kids. Because when my parents came, I didn't know anything how to do in a foreign country. So my outlook was always, I have to learn it. I don't even know what to ask for help. So I did all kinds of, so many programs that do for anything, how to create online program, how to do coaching. And as you know, there's so much help out there that you can just go into rabbit hole, and then all you do all day long is just participating on some online course, and you never get out of this.
Right.
Now, I just go and I'm like, I see somebody else is emailing me about some online program. I just like delete, delete, delete. And now I'm already just unsubscribing because I'm like, you have to get to the point where you think you will never make it perfect. You
Yeah.
just have to be good enough, because the perfection in the world doesn't really exist. The nature doesn't have perfection. And if this is already giving my message to the world, and that serves the purpose, you look, even if it's not perfectly in English grammar, as obviously you can tell, I don't speak in perfect English, but I had to overcome this and say, you know what, oh, whatever, I'm going to write it anyway. And then I published 2 books, and I have to realize I cannot be perfect. I'm just going to give it all out, whatever it is. I know I did my best, but now I know I need to delegate. I need to pace myself. And being a stress management coach, I need to manage my own stress as well.
Yeah. How was how was it learning English? Like what did you do?
So the funny thing is that when I arrived to US, I knew very little English because I was learning other languages. Well, actually, I was learning Russian language. I already knew from TV, and we were in Soviet Union, so they made us to speak Russian. But of course, I'm Lithuanian, so my native language is Lithuanian. I know Polish language because I watched all the American movies on Polish TV. Lithuania is next to Poland, so you still can see TV which is in Poland. I remember Miami Vice in Polish language.
Yeah.
And so then in school, we're supposed to learn foreign language. So I took French because my best friend was taking French. So when I arrived here to US, I knew very little English. And so, I arrived an au pair. And the 3 years old little girl, I was very lucky that she already spoke very well English she actually was 2.5. She could speak full sentences, and she was just so ahead of her time, because I was looking at other toddlers, and they will be like still trying to make one sentence. And she was my teacher, because I remember, one day I said, "Put your socks on," and she just like, put her arms on her waist, like, "Put your socks on." So she was my teacher. So if you don't like my English, you need to talk to her, because she taught me English.
She'll be like, "What are you talking about? I did good." Yeah. Oh man, that's cool though. Like, that's cool. Like learning a language from a younger child who's learning the language themselves.
And I think what I also like that, she's 3 years old. She's not gonna judge me that I don't know English. She never made fun of me either. It's like, I realized that 3 years old, they don't even have a sense of humor. And how I know about this, because, sorry, we were reading a book in Barnes Noble, and I pick up a book, and it says, jokes or something. And I read just like 3 sentences a joke, so the joke goes, 3 huge monsters standing under a very small umbrella, but they're not wet. Do you know why? No, because it's not raining. Now, I was like giggling for 20 minutes. I told my little toddler, and she was looking at me like, "What's the matter with you?" Like, has no sense of humor yet. So the thing was, she just taught me. She never laughed from me, and and that's how I learned. And I remember my first American boyfriend, and I asked him, I'm like, can you like fix my sentences, like tell me what I'm saying wrong. We couldn't even have conversation, because anything I will say, he will be trying to fix my language. I was like, you know what, I'm breaking up with you, it's too much stress.
That's something that I don't get. Like, I know that there are a lot of people out there that they look at people who are struggling with English as a second language, and just being like, they don't get it. They don't know what they're talking about. They don't know what they're saying. Like that, taking that type of attitude to it. And it's like, yo, they already speak another language, at least one, and they're making a conscious effort to learn another one. Like, that's impressive. Like, that shouldn't be looked at as like a making fun type scenario, or just trying to overanalyze it. It's like, you're trying to learn a new language. Like the same people that are going to make fun of somebody else for, you know, English not being up to par will not spend the time to learn a new language.
Yeah, I agree with you. You know, when I was working in the corporate, and if someone will say, "Well, you said that word wrong," or well, or I will write an email and there will be a misspell, but the spelling doesn't really catch it because the way it's written is the correct spelling, but the word is a little like father and farther. Um, and they're like, "Oh, well, you know, you wrote the wrong word," and I will say, "I'm sorry, English is my fifth language. Sorry." And then they're like, "Oh,
Oh yeah,
sorry."
it's just the fifth language. That's great. Did you, when you ended up leaving the corporate job, did you actually get any of your coworkers as clients?
No, because I actually when I was I think I was even embarrassed of telling them like, oh, now I'm going to do this. It's, I kind of encounter, you know, what was in the Bible says that you cannot be a prophet in your own village.
Mm.
So you know, now I meet people that I work with them like 10 years, and they like, oh my gosh, I saw you now, you know, you published a book, and wow, wow, how this, you know, they cannot comprehend like this came out of that. And I guess I was a little ashamed of thinking, you know, I know they, you know, they're gonna think about me bad. So I was like trying, you know, I was doing this on the side and just kind of like keeping silent.
Gotcha. Just keep it separate then. I gotcha. Gotcha. How long did it take you to feel comfortable enough to not have those thoughts of like I'm kind of embarrassed about this? Like when did you step into your power with being a stress coach?
When I saw more and more people telling me, my clients saying, "Oh, you really helped me so much." You know, when I remember one of my first clients said, I used to have a very big neck pain, and I was taking medication just to help me with the neck pain. And after coaching with you, it doesn't hurt my neck. I just realized it doesn't. I don't have to take medication anymore. And they were so happy.
Wow.
And I thought, wow, I actually made a difference in somebody's lives. And then I realized, oh, you know, it just you know, it just gives me tingles. I'm thinking, oh my God, that's what I want to do, you know. And from that moment on, I was like, you don't like what I'm doing, then look away, because you know I'm gonna do this because I love it.
Yeah. Well, it's like you had that validation with it too. Like that's pretty impactful. You know, seeing that it's actually changing somebody's life, because that's another one of those things, that pain, like the neck pain, the back pain, the headaches, like if people are just like, oh, this is just part of life. Like this is how I'm just gonna live. And it's like, it doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah, like you mentioned before, you know, just because we all feeling stressed, it doesn't mean that's the way it should be.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, you got any projects you're working on right now? Any new books? Anything else that you're doing with this, or just really focusing on the copious amounts of stressed people that are out there right now?
Well, when we just got into a pandemic, I created online course that's still available, that is really targeted to manage stress during lockdown. So
Okay.
you know how you manage stress while you lockdown.
Yeah.
and uh, and so that was probably a month ago now, that so I was working on that, and then I did coaching, and I'm now already thinking I will do some webinar as well, that you know people can just come in and just share the knowledge, and hopefully help somebody who can do it, not just listen to it.
Yeah. Had you been working with people one-on-one before this whole thing started, or was it over computer?
So I do coaching. I have clients who are in different states, so it really depends on the person. I do one-on-one through like we're talking right now with you, or could be just over the phone. And if I have clients who here locally in Houston, and they just you know don't have time driving, because I don't even have time driving too. You know, in Houston is such a large city, it
Yeah.
takes like forever to get anywhere, and you know why would I waste my time and their time? So many conversations, even in the same city, we do over the phone or through Zoom. But there are some people that like seeing face to face, and they like, this intimate setting that we're looking at each other's eyes and we're really talking about it. So it really depends on the person. But I do have clients in different states that we do through Zoom, and as long as it works.
Yeah. What's one thing that you've seen like across the board that is so, in your estimation, easy to do, that can be a thing that allows people to not feel so stressed, like you were talking about earlier with that, like setting an alarm for every hour and just do it for a minute, like, yeah.
So I think stress comes two ways. One, something that I already mentioned, like somebody cuts in front of you or something like that, which can be nothing to do with us. It's just how it happened.
Yeah.
But also the health, the stress that really making us sick is the prolonged stress every single day. So it's like holding a glass of water. If I'll give you a glass of water to hold, and I will ask you, how heavy is it? Well, the answer is it depends how long you're gonna hold it. So if you will hold the glass and you will never pull it down, probably your arm will start hurting after a while. But if you will pick it up and then you put it down on the table and then you take a break and then you pick it up again and put it down, is the same works with stress. The biggest problem that I see is that I have clients who come to me and they already have problems, like the back hurts already, the hormones are off the chart, the doctor says, hey, you have an anxiety. And this is when we already see the result is visual. You already can touch it. So the majority of things that we do, we have to manage our energy and our stress level every single day. We need to understand that this self-care needs to be on our schedule as like a job. It's like, okay, I did 45 minutes of work. Now I'm going to rest 5 minutes and I'm going to do another 45 minutes. I'm sure you heard the Pomodoro method. There are other methods, you just have to find. So it's like you work a period of time, 45 minutes, an hour, and then you just take a break. You can put an alarm on and say, all right, the alarm was on, now I'm going to take a break, 5-10 minutes. There are some people who take 15 minutes and they go and do something totally different that they're doing, and then go back to work again. So this is what it is like you managing your time and you investing in yourself in self-care. So that's the glass when you hold it and then you put it, and then you hold it and then you put it. It's the same thing with stress. So and doesn't have to be anything complicated. When you take a break, you just close your eyes, breathe in, breathe out. Another thing, we don't really move enough, especially right now. So just stand up, run in one place, just like do a little running, like sprinting, or tap your body, like you just take your hand and you just tap your body all around, and just your hands and your neck, and until you feel tingling, because all the body is just circulating and you get more oxygen into your brain. Listen to some song, like we have all some music available on our fingertips. We're always walking around with cell phones. Just put that song that you really like, and it gives puts you in a good mood. Yeah, have enough water, make sure your sugar level is right. Do some exercises that help maintain your energy levels, and find what is really working for you. And if you can go outside, just go outside. I was so surprised to see a research was done about it was a hospital, and there were people in the hospital recuperating after surgeries or whatever, they were sick, and there were three groups. The first group where they had the window, actual window that they can look outside, and it was a park or river or something, but you can look outside. The second group had an image of a lake or river or something, that's like an image of the nature. And the third group had like no windows and no images whatsoever and nothing to do with nature. And the third group that had no image at all was taking the longest to get better. So for us, just to looking at the pictures, like for example, if you're really working and this is, your timer is up and now you need to spend 3-5 minutes, you don't have to spend half an hour or even a minute, to just go and look at some images of nature. Or better yet, remember the vacation that you had, like something that happened good, like you had fun with your friends, with your family. Just look through pictures. Even, everybody have a phone these days, and we're all taking all kinds of pictures. Just swipe through them. Just see, oh yeah, that's a good picture. Oh, I remember that fun time when we had fun time. And I have clients, they like, I don't have pictures like this. I don't have family. I don't have nothing. And I'm like, okay. Then if you have no vacation that you can remember that please you, what that vacation would look like. Imagine that you're planning vacation, right? So why don't you go online and look at those pictures? And I had a funny story. I had a client who I told her that, plan a perfect vacation. And she's like, we don't have money, no time. We're not going to go on vacation. I'm like, well, why don't you just plan it? Okay. So she's really got into this, and she was looking at the pictures. She immediately, when you're planning something nice for you, you're feeling positive right away. But
Yeah.
what happened, her husband saw all of her browsing history, and he was thinking that that was like an anniversary gift that she's planning.
Oh no.
And she's like, yeah, that's all my imagination vacation, honey. But actually, they pulled their money together, like, and they actually went on that vacation, like in a year later, So,
That's awesome.
yeah. So, the key is to find little things how you just can unplug physically and mentally from the situation. Like with that glass, pick up, put it down, pick up, put it down. Make sure you have well nutrition, and of course there will be days that you are more stressed about the projects. And so, like right now, we have lots of people afraid that they will be very hard to find a job, or they lost their job, or so what I recommend is it's all in your thoughts. You're all worrying. So I recommend to do 2 lists. In the one list, you need to think through all of your life, all of the situations that were difficult for you, that you actually lived through it. Like, I don't know, breaking up, losing a job, or going bankrupt, or losing your wallet, or something small or something big, as long as you thought that that was not the situation you wanted to be in.
Mhm.
And then remind yourself that that passed through, you learned something, you lived through that, and you made it. So create one list that all of the stories in your life that you actually made it. So when you look at that, when you're worried, like, oh my gosh, I will never find the job, I'm not going to make it, pick up that list and read it to yourself. Our brain loves the proof. And so when you're proving to yourself, like, okay, guess what? I did this, and I did this, and I did this. You're like, you know what? I think I'm going to make through this too. And then, and the second thing is always have a plan. I think we all afraid of the unknown. And I have clients now that they like, I am so stressed out. I lost my job, and I don't know how I'm going to get through this. And I'm like, okay. So you see, we live in Houston. We probably every year have at least 3 to 5 hurricanes that are coming, or they should have come, but they didn't. But we're very familiar how to, how to live with the hurricanes.
Yeah.
So, why? Because we already know it's coming. And also we have a plan. They always remind us on the news, have a plan. If electricity runs out, have the batteries, have the water, who you going to call, what's the emergency family plan, where you going to meet, and you prepare for that. So when a hurricane comes, you're like, okay, another hurricane. Now, if we're going to take this hurricane and put in Ohio, and you never had that hurricane, you will be like, oh my God, what we're going to do? So this is right now, many people are encountering that inner hurricane. It's like, doesn't have to be that bad. Make a plan. And the plan is, that's the second list you need to make about any situation you're worrying about. Is like, what is the worst thing that can happen? And just write it down and think, okay, I'm going to lose my job. All right, what I'm going to do then? Okay, then I'm going to, clean my savings account. Okay, then after that, all right, I'm going to clean up my 401k. Okay, after that, I'm going to sell the house. After that, I'm going to go to my parents. After that, I'm going to, go to Kroger's, whatever. Just go prepare yourself for the worst thing that can happen. Mm-hmm. And you know what's going to happen when you prepare yourself with all those things that are going to happen. You're already kind of like thinking, and then suddenly it becomes not that scary anymore. And then you're thinking, you know what? Well, I'll survive. And then you can put yourself back into like this feeling of I'm in control and I can make it, and get yourself out of that anxiety and worriness that's really just doing nothing, or worse, just making you sick.
Yeah, man. That is so important, of just acknowledging some of the stuff that you've been through. That's because we don't do that. I don't like, I've just started doing that recently. But I realize that in myself, that I'm so focused on potential and like what might turn into something else, that I don't have necessarily that redirect sometimes to go back and be like, you know what, you felt like this before, something similar like this happened before, and you got through it and everything was fine. And it is something that I've definitely noticed that has given added value to my life, of getting out of that downward spiral. Because when you're talking about the negative thoughts, and it's like another one comes and then another one comes, and it's just like, you're like, oh my god, what's happening? But if one of the things that happens is you start to get that initial thought and you go, wait a minute, I actually did this that one time, so what's going on? Like, what's next? And then you rewire the conversation that's going on in your head. And that is, it's confusing. It's confusing, and it's a practice, and it's so worth it. It's so worth it.
It all depends about the attitude.
Yeah.
It's just all the attitude, but it's very doable. Maybe a few times, still not gonna catch yourself, still gonna run through the same patterns, but just start doing that instead of just doing nothing. Will feel already more like you're more in control and you feel better.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, is there anything else that you wanted to get into on this one that we didn't touch base on? Anything with like, yeah, if people want to reach out to you or follow you on the social medias or work with you in some capacity, yeah, how can they do that?
Yeah, so it's all available on my website, beamazingyou.com. I think that's very easy to remember.
Yeah.
It's all spelled out. And so there's a link to my book, Crush Stress While You Work, available on Amazon, on my online courses. There's some free courses there and some paid. Then also I do one-on-one coaching that's also available on my website. To go to the calendar and set up an appointment. There's also, if someone thinks I'll be a great value for the team and come and teach how to manage stress in the workplace, they also can go to my website and fill up the questionnaire and all of that information that I can reach back to them. And I'm on social media. I'm on Facebook as Lolita Guarin, or Be Amazing You also. On LinkedIn, you're welcome to write me a message. I'm always checking out there and putting more tips and techniques and posts and videos and anything there. And I'm on Instagram as well as Lolita Guarin.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for taking the time out today to do this. I think stress is going to continue being a hot button topic and something that we're going to have to pay attention to going forward. So thank you for doing what you do.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Hope you enjoyed it, people. We are out of here. See ya.